Hi, right now I'm going to discuss the dissection of the causality and the reactionary physics in representative metaphorical context. So it might get a little meaty and this is interpretation based upon a set of facts, either fiction or non. I'll sell it as either in order to try to escape and hire some security, hire some lawyers. But I know that's not fair to the lynch mob. You got to be fair to the lynching. So there ain't no lawyers, no security. That's a halo umbrella bubble Truman Show boy. So the representative nature, democracy is worship. The reason why is the representative nature of products. So when you get a barrel of oil, what are you getting? And when you derive it into all these products, it's a representative nature affixed to the products. That's one of the reasons you see a lot of these, especially Saudi Arabia, Russia, I could see, because they don't want it's disrupting their entire, it's destroying their entire civilization. The product, the effects itself are more akin to strip mining. You're completely removing all bedrock and sedimentary structure because of the supersize nature of extreme to the max, not fast and the furious. You're attaching a lot of different piggybacking, riders, attachments, all this to these super value power um, products that are being placed. So when you do that and circulate the products, it programs the entire global system. We're talking about a global economic system. They're all parts of a whole that is a system, and the worship of computers justifies the logic basis precedence of it. So that's why I see the adamant objection to the that's just a fact that I've seen. And look at what happened to me. Me being Louis from Louisiana, where half the oil of America comes through to get dispersed and refining through the loop off the mouth of the Mississippi. That's why we're so important theoretically is the superpower, supersize, big max, maximize profit or maximize representational value. And that's why, but it's gotten beyond that. I mean, we're really getting into human growth hormone steroid addiction, radioactivity in estimation. I honestly think in a symbological, symptomatic, representational analysis, we're seeing a lot of radioactive mutations based upon what you're trying to do is they're using fancy math. We're going to deem plutonium helium because we got him as a hostage dog. He's healing, so that's helium instead of the reality of the math globally is plutonium. So, and just because you got a hostage, then I mean that's where your derivative exchange rate, and That's what I honestly think I am. I think I'm an exchange bank. I think I'm a money changer. Like Jesus destroyed at the temple all the money changers. Well, I think they're using my family linked to, regardless of credibility. I think we've been turned into a big ass ATM exchange rate funneling through St. Louis Cathedral, and then you got the church in the state of Louisiana. I honestly, that's a theory. I mean, that's just a theory. And then in order to disorient, destabilize the key proponents, namely me, then you get into the whole pinata Mardi Gras thing. But not just plastic beads and doubloons. They're throwing real jewels and well, the plastics they're throwing are like plastic credit cards and stuff like that. But it's like a pinata. You beat the boy, we get it spilled, jewels everywhere. That's basically it. So you get paid to be a lynch mob because you got fancy lawyers that did they insider traded, infiltrated sabotage, and they're hiding it. See, they link it all together. That's what the herd. It's a herd. It's playing every angle. You got sectors of the herd, the mob, playing every angle rather than the law. I mean, a real law with a vested. Well, you got to look at the vested interest, and the law in this country is heavily based upon political influence. and economic influence. And so, of course, they're jaded and skewed to different realms. The problem is, and one of the benefits to me is greed. Greed will help my cause because of the discrepancy of wealth and the animosity. That's one of the reasons you got extreme party mentality. You're diluting the public with drugs and idols and all this phantasmagoria, surreal state of being, and that's enough, in order to disorient, grand illusion, Wizard of Oz sort of mentality. So me, I'm passed around. I get shrunk down into a voodoo doll to be passed around, and it's like volleyball spikes. And I definitely felt it, that it was like setting up, passed around, and then spiked into the ground, like it was in Texas and Louisiana. Were playing volleyball spikes with me for a while. Then you got Wyoming and Colorado, and now Georgia in on it. As far as, because I'm basically hogtied, I'm just Wilson the volleyball on Forrest Gump Castaway Island, and I have no control mechanism because I have atrophy. It's the best, I am basically in a coma because they're using my body for all these various industries. And there's no, it'd be one thing if you're talking about a nuclear power plant would be if I had an estate or a manor. But no, you're going to cheap it. You want to go free range chicken nuclear power. They call you yellow, you going to give it a try, chicken fried steaks. So, it's this vanity and the inability to be reverent at all while you're trying to worship reverent. Play the reverent card as motive for the, you're playing the reverent card. You want to worship the system that's not reverent at all but you got too wide a you're way wide on the amount of lords you're worshiping as far as, and it's just bribery, Mardi Gras, bribery, Mardi Gras. So what's going on is the system reconstitutes genes. You don't want to admit that the system, you don't want to admit any kind of past. You want to cut everything off and then throw it into a vat, reconstitute it, and redistribute the genes. And then you're going to play loan shark and try to seize all the birthrights of the reconstituted genes using the machine to go usurp birthrights. So right now they're using me to reconstitute birthrights of my predicated family in the South of Latin America and Southern Europe. I can foresee them going after the African assets for sure, and the Russian assets, and the Northern European assets. Right now, the United Kingdom's kind of on a hinge. Definitely going after Australia, playing heavy into the Australia and trying to dig into Canada, but those divisions I'm not sure about. So it's all a matter of just, there's no control, so everybody goes total ape shit, chaos in every direction, because there's no real control of the mob stampede, because that's why you have bears and you have bulls. A bear is not a downturn in a market. A bear is a law, supply and demand, a reals demand, and it's not just supply driven demand, that sort of thing. It's the extremism of representational nature with a lack of competent judiciary and a lack of competent truth in the matter, because there's this huge halo umbrella effect because you gambled on hostages, basically. You wanted some hostages. So you got the reconstituted genes, and it's strip mining and then building these coalition machines in order to generate greater power because of the trace elements. It's like you get trace elements, it's like building, rather than having a dispersal in a few trace elements, you're giving the entire dispersal the rank way up here of trace element because of the trace element communalism of the representative nature. And then the representative nature of psych. One of the other things is like I was confirmed JV, I'm a junior, I played JV high school Texas golf, and then there's something called the Jesuit Volunteers, which is JV. And then here in Savannah, there's St. John the Baptist Cathedral, where I go to Mass and went to communion, right next to St. Vincent's, which is a V, which that's the segregation point. But what it's really after is dispersal. That's a really high. My grandmother was born in St. John the Baptist Parish. And so that's a real high value energy product plant placement. But you can't, I get, I produce a lot of the correlation energy, but it's slavery because I don't get nothing out of it. I think even Jefferson Davis was kept hearing Jefferson Davis's daughters went to the school or something like that. That's just one example. It's just like Marathon Oil is based in St. John the Baptist Parish, where my grandmother was born. And there's a Marathon music equipment that has amplifiers, speakers, mixers, lights. There's all this. It's energy that provides validity and authentication because of connectivity. That's the pinata Mardi Gras effect of this huge halo that's just gotten way, way too overblown. I mean, it's like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was a kid's show, but the metaphor in it is what's basically going on. And you're breeding a whole bunch of animosity globally, and you got a deluded public that has no idea that you're actually betting their future. You bet your life. Well, you sure did. And now you're counting on a stable government. I mean, any sort of correction here could be cataclysmic theoretically. So that's kind of why you got the too big to fail worshiping of that. And you're addicted like steroid cocaine junkies, because I would consider this like a cocaine lab because of the illegal nature of how they're doing it more than a chemical processing plant, because it's really done it's an illegal basis as far as it's based on schemes. So it's more akin to. Then you get into the representative nature of illegal drugs and legal drugs, and that whole using the same chemical basis, and it's really a strange metaphorical context. But it really is. It's like drug lab junkies. That's one of the reasons they play me from both sides in order to extract value and energy. I mean, this is an interesting theory, and I planned on writing an interesting book based on it, but I've got a lot of material. Been trying to get interns for years and years. I've never had a competent muse, never had an agent. Hopefully one day maybe I can drum up some port. I know that that's one of the reasons. Whenever anybody comes close to support me, just throw my money at them. Here, mercenary, buy them off. Throw some money at them. Throw some credit cards. Throw some skirts at them. Anything and everything to keep, the Magic Kingdom Wizard of Oz flow, the magic holy oil and holy anointed oil flowing. Yeah, but in reality, it's really like HGH, radioactive anabolic steroids. Cocaine, in my estimation, would be the closest collaborative thing. I mean, in a metaphorical sense of because of the power involved, and they are deathly addicted to it, and they're addicted to betting my life too, forcing me based upon I don't know. Like I said, I was driven, I was steered, I was puppeted. My whole family, we were driven and steered in a demolition derby in order to justify seizing control after one sect was driving us, then the other sect was waiting for them to screw up so they could swoop in and do it. But it was truth in lending, truth in advertising, truth in whatever was never a part of it.